Welcome, Unprofessionals, to episode 49. Papa Mealey. Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with the advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
And please put unprofessional development in the How Did You Hear About Podgo? That will give us a little finder's fee. Thank you.
Hello, unprofessionals. So as you know, now we're doing real commercials, not just the silly ones that we normally do. So today I've got with me my daughter Micah. Say hello, Micah.
Hi.
She has an Etsy account. It's called what?
Roo Makes Bracelets.
Roo Makes Bracelets, okay? We'll put a link in the show notes for you for sure. So she makes some friendship bracelets. She even has one that is kind of an unprofessional bracelet, where she's made the unpro letters in the bracelet. So if you need a bracelet, go to Roo's Bracelets. Anything else you want to say about your bracelets?
No.
Okay. But she's a little kid. She's 11 years old. She's entrepreneuring. You know, support her. And go to Roo's Bracelets. Click the link in the show notes. Thank you. Say goodbye, Micah.
Bye.
Welcome, Unprofessionals, to a very interesting episode of Unprofessional Development. I'm Tedisco.
And I'm Mealey, and today we have with us another Mealey, my father. Now, you've already listened to the episode with my brother, I'm sure, because you listen to every single episode, and that's all that you do. But now we've got my father on, the patriarch of the Mealey teaching clan. So
The progenitor.
The progenitor, yes. I'm just an amateur janitor myself, so working on that. I'll be a progenitor one day. But
you're not supposed to laugh at your own jokes either. You know that.
Yeah, well, if you could figure out how to get your camera on, you could tell which one was laughing and which one was making the jokes. You silly old man.
I heard Chris laughing. I can identify you're laughing. It's like a hyena.
Well, thank you very much. So you can tell there's a lot of love here going on. There's nothing dysfunctional about this family.
But
anyway.
How are you today, sir?
I'm just peachy, buddy.
Peachy keen.
That too. I've heard that. That's back in the day, though. I don't go that far back, I don't think.
All right, so can you start us off by just giving us a rundown of like why you became a teacher and how long you were in the classroom and just kind of what that educational biography was?
Sure, I can give you a little bit of background. When I left my hometown to go to LaSalle College, I had all the intentions of being a chemist. Found out that that required a level of mathematics that I was unable to achieve. Looking for myself, I decided to volunteer my time at an orphanage to help two children, an 8th grade girl and a 5th grade boy. They told me mathematics. Of course, I panicked, and I knew I could do 8th grade math and 5th grade math because it really wasn't math. It's probably arithmetic. Went down there and volunteered to teach those two children. Did that for about 3 weeks, 1 day a week. Went back for the 4th time, and the children ran up and hugged me.
Oh.
And thanked me. Showed me their latest test in which they got, I can't remember, let's say they both got A's.
Yes.
It was the hug that sold it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. So now I'm a 3rd-year college student trying to figure out how I'm going to finish in 4 years because my parents didn't have a whole lot of money and I didn't want to borrow money, but it all worked out. I went, my 4th year, I went to day school, I went to night school, I went to summer school, and lo and behold, I finished in 4 years and became a teacher.
Cool.
Wow.
Okay. I'd never heard that story, by the way, boys and girls, so that's my first time hearing that story. The thing I had heard, and I don't know if you want to like go there or not, or maybe I misremember it then, with Vietnam, so was there no like possibly going into teaching in Vietnam, or it was just that you felt guilty about not going to Vietnam because you were a teacher?
No, I had already had a deferment for 4 years because I was in college.
Right.
If I wanted to stay away from Vietnam, all I had to do was go to graduate school.
Okay.
So if I would imagine if that volunteer thing didn't happen, probably at the end of my first year, I would have opted that I didn't have any more money for graduate school, and I would have been just looking for a number to pop up that may have gotten me to go to the Army or not to the Army. So
Okay. Okay. For some reason, I'm misremembering. You told me one thing, and maybe it's I just sometimes in your memory you connect two dots that aren't really connected and two different stories. So okay.
So you wound up teaching mathematics, and for how long did you teach?
No, I didn't teach mathematics.
No. Okay. Just tutoring.
I wound up with the only other science that didn't have a great deal of mathematics involved in it, and that was biology.
There you go.
So I taught biology in the Philadelphia school system for 39 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It seems like but a blink of an eye right now.
I'm going to guess that of all of our listeners that are listening, there are mostly teachers, that very few of them have taught 39 years, and probably I'm going to guess fewer of them want to teach 39 years. That's just a long time to do anything. Tedisco, do you want to teach for 39 years? I don't know if I can quite handle 39 years.
Ask me year 38, and I'll tell you how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
If my whole teaching career were as the unskilled Bill in his first year in a challenging middle school in Philadelphia, I don't think I'd have made 39 years.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you. So, give us just like some highlights, lowlights, whatever of the early years, the first year or two and three, and then kind of talk to us about when you think that you really started to feel like you knew what you were doing as a teacher and what that felt like. So if you can kind of run through some of that.
Yeah.
Sure. My first year, I was, as I said, in Gillespie Middle School, which was right next to the high school that I did my student teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no high school position for biology when I applied. They were all filled. And not knowing that middle school would be such a challenge, I decided to go to middle school and give it my best shot there. I didn't know anything about Gillespie Junior High other than it was right next to Simon Gratz, where I did my student teaching. I was familiar with the neighborhood. I was familiar with getting there from the house that I lived in, back and forth. And I chose Gillespie. Well, I received a very rude awakening at Gillespie Middle School, or junior high school, if you will. As I said, I grew up upstate Pennsylvania. My dad was a coal miner. I grew up without a whole lot of contact with Spanish Americans, African Americans, anyone of color whatsoever.
Yeah.
And never thought too much about my whiteness till I got to Gillespie Junior High. When in fact, and because I was so naive, didn't understand why I was the man, and didn't understand the intensity of the dislike when the children didn't know me.
Right.
And what year was that?
That was September of 1965. I had some help with the staff at Gillespie, and They introduced me to techniques for class control, how to address the children, why I shouldn't be too upset with the dislike till the children maybe got to know me and knew exactly where I stood on certain issues. And that didn't come easy. Again, I had absolutely no teaching skills whatsoever.
And I imagine in the 60s, a lot of the staff was also white?
There was a good portion in Philadelphia of all the teachers being white. Yes,
yeah.
But there were two African American gentlemen in my department who took me under their wing, and another guy who had such skills that you would not believe. Again, a white man, but. And if it weren't for those three people sticking with me, I'm not a quitter. I don't think I pictured myself as a quitter. But within the first month and a half, I thought maybe I had done something really, really wrong with my life.
It's very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, some of the language that was used against me, which I won't repeat on here, was very rough language.
Mm-hmm.
And after maybe 5 or 6 years in the classroom, if I had that, I could have made light of that and turned it back around in my own way to endear myself to the children.
Mm-hmm.
But if everybody was looking at me like the cop without the gun,
right,
that wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember you. One of the stories I remember you telling, I think it was at that school, about the kid when you were calling roll and the way that he entered the room. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I haven't thought about him in a long, long time. Okay, I'm taking roll.
Yep.
And I get all finished, and there's only one kid that's absent, and I'm calling his name. I said, "Does anybody know where Leonard Pressey? He's not on the absentee list as being absent from school, but he's not here. I mean, did he wind up in a detention, in-house detention? Where's Leonard?" And I could hear this insane giggling, and I'm looking around the room for where he is. Is he under my desk? Is he hiding behind the desk of someone else? And I could not see him. But there was a vent that helped airflow that began at floor level and went up around into the ductwork above the classroom.
Oh,
and then I heard the end of the giggling, hee, and down Leonard comes like a sliding board out into my room. Welcome to Mr. Mealey's room, Leonard Pressey.
Nice. That's good stuff.
It was, and I said, "Well, I'm glad you could join us, Leonard." Of course, I gave him 3 days detention, and that was my first year of teaching, and I will never forget Leonard.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. So some names stick with you, and some drift off into the
yes,
the atmosphere.
They do. Yep.
Oh yeah, I can tell you which of my white hairs is named after which of my students.
Well, I pulled all mine out. That's why I'm bald.
There you go.
That's what I should do. It's like forget-me-not.
Yeah, there you go.
Obviously, the first year you still don't really quite know what you're doing. So when do you kind of really feel like you go, okay, I can actually do this teaching thing? Is there a moment or a year that you can kind of like remember going, oh yeah, things that year really kind of clicked?
Well, I only spent that 1 year in Gillespie Junior High. All the positions in Philadelphia were testable positions, and I had taken a test for biology at the high school level,
mm-hmm.
and I informed you guys that there weren't any available.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I won't brag about how good my score was, but I was number one on the list.
There you go. Just everyone else was really bad at it. You weren't very smart.
And lo and behold, now I leave at the end of June to go south to my summertime job as a park ranger naturalist, a seasonal park ranger naturalist in Shenandoah National Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm down there, and I'm friendly with the people. And we always used to go down into Front Royal, Virginia, to pick up our mail because they didn't deliver the mail up into the park.
Yeah.
And this one day, I couldn't make it down. I gave the people the combination, just bring my mail up to me. And in the mail that day was a letter from the Philadelphia School Board, and I can remember the joy right now. I can remember opening the letter, thinking, okay, well, I got a job, and it'll be high school, and the kids are a little more mature, and everything's going to be just. It can't be worse than what I'm leaving.
There you go.
So, I mean, Gillespie was a very difficult experience, and I opened this letter. And there are three guys. We're sitting out at the picnic table eating lunch, and there are visitors all around the picnic grounds where we're eating lunch. And I'm in uniform because I'm working that day. Mm-hmm. And I open this thing, and I literally screamed at the top of my lungs. And I got up, I'm dancing around, I'm screaming, "Wow, wow, wow, wow!"
Nice.
And they're looking at me like, what the heck is the matter with this guy? Well, the reason was the best school in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia High School for Girls. Mm-hmm. Public school.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All girls. Mm-hmm. All highly academic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a magnet school, for those who are familiar with that.
Yes.
And to get into that school... Did they need a letter of recommendation or to pass a certain exam?
They look their scores. They look at back in the day there were not a whole lot of state scores, but the kids did take scores. They looked at their report cards for the first eight grades, mm-hmm. and I had one thing going for me, without the skills that I needed. Okay, mm-hmm. I still haven't the skills yet, mm-hmm. but I was cute.
Oh boy. Wow.
And when you're teaching all girls,
yes,
and you're young, cute is very important.
I guess it is. So
if you were cute when you were young, what happened with William?
Hey. I don't know.
I refuse to answer that question.
Okay. There's some challenges with that as well, I guess.
The first meeting with the principal, those challenges were put in front of me. Mm-hmm. If I hadn't thought about them, they were up front and center in front of me by the principal saying,
"Yes,
Mr. Mealey, you understand that you are here now, and this school is all girls, mm-hmm. with the exception of some faculty. Here is a rule that I will give you, and I hope that you are smart enough to stick to it. Mm-hmm. You will never find yourself in a one-on-one situation with any of our pupils."
There you go.
And she said, even when there's more than one of you in the room, mm-hmm. like a teacher,
right?
The door should always remain open.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you'd probably be really, really smart if you taught with your door open to your room.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with any of those rules.
Yeah.
From that point on, it was, you need help, bring a friend or two, preferably two friends.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it worked out fine.
Yeah. The challenge I had, because the past few years, I've taught in a trailer. And so, like, when there would be after-school tutoring, and, it only happened maybe once or twice, but, like, sometimes just one kid shows up. You know what I mean?
It's a windowless trailer.
Right. And so I'm like, I'm going to open the door to the trailer. And it was kind of, like, awkward, like, once or twice, where, like, I said, I just want to get some fresh air in here. I'm not, like... I'm trying to make sure that you don't accuse me of, assault.
Of course.
Here.
Oh, yes.
I'm not trying to. It's already awkward.
It's mid-January and I need a fresh breeze.
I mean, it's awkward enough sometimes when it's just you and one kid anyway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well,
and then you don't have to actually, say, why don't we talk about the elephant? Because it sounds like this will make it less awkward.
Yeah, they knew what it was all about. They did because they were smart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My kids were really smart. the other thing was in the very early part. I mean, my background philosophically was I grew up in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
I was an Irish Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a sense that from the way I carried myself, that I certainly had some kind of religious background.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to sexual reproduction, that first year I was there,
Mm-hmm.
they did all they could to embarrass me, because some of the questions, and I've apologized for this numerous times on Facebook to my earlier classes. I said it had nothing to do with the content. It had to do with how I was raised. And it just took me a while before I could be comfortable with that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't the biology. It was just, it was my background.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to laugh because I would blush.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure that those stories go on to this day. You know, those earlier kids that I taught.
If you can get a teacher embarrassed or just off their game or uncomfortable, it's on, baby. That's those students. They walk out feeling really, really proud of themselves when they can.
They were. Oh yes, I would say after the second year, that couldn't happen. I was ready for anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's so.
And
funny,
I had developed a rapport that they respected me enough that they wouldn't come for me in that way.
There you go.
I mean, for how many men is it a nightmare for them to like just close their eyes and like they're in front of a group of teenage girls and they have to explain reproduction? Like,
well, I can only relate one, and this is a little bit later on. I'm explaining chemiosmotic theory of something or other in one of the chemical processes.
right? Yes, of course.
I love that theory.
Yeah, it's an all girls school,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to get them to understand that they can be in any position in science that they want,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're girls.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming up with this girl's name, and I say the girl's name out loud, and the girl's name is Jennifer Moyle, and I'm saying, every time I say that word, every time I introduce this young woman, it triggers something in my mind, and I don't know. I said I don't know anybody. I don't know any Jennifers. I don't know anybody with the family name Moyle. And one of my favorite kids, and she is shaking her head back and forth at me like, "No, Mr. Mealey, don't go there. No." And I'm saying, Lila, what is going on? Everybody is now holding themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She said, you understand, Mr. Mealey, that our classroom is about a half of the Jewish persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, if you say so, yeah, sure. I don't really know anybody's religious persuasion, but, she said, you obviously don't know what a moil is. And I said, no.
You couldn't Google it back then.
She said, well, you don't. I said, yes, I don't. I said, but now you're going to tell me, and then I'll understand.
Nice.
And she says, that's the person who does the bris. I said, there's the second word I don't understand.
Nice.
Oh no!
There you go. So yeah.
Now, I tell you, I learned so much in my first 5 years at Girls High from different ethnic backgrounds and whatever that I didn't learn in Ashland, Pennsylvania.
There you go.
She explained, this is the man who takes care of circumcisions.
Oh, while we're on like these topics, it's always good. So, late third, early fourth grade, but that's about that time. Somewhere along that time, I asked you where babies come from. Okay, because that's what like little kids do at some point, or
Sure they do.
So when your father's a biology teacher,
You're going to get too much information, maybe.
Oh my goodness, it was all like it was more the internal workings than the external workings that were the details. You know what I mean? You go like, what's a uterus? I was thinking, I've never seen a uterus in my life. You know what I mean? And fallopian tubes, and but then the rest of it was all just kind of like out of a textbook, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't remember
left the conversation at all, by the way.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah, my mother's a nurse.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep. Same thing. Very clinical explanation.
Yeah, which I guess is fine.
I was far more uncomfortable than she was.
Well, again, that's boy-girl too. That sometimes makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah.
If I had to explain it to a daughter, I might have been by that point. See, I would have been teaching a girls' high, and that would have been fine. I've been used to talking to young women, so I probably could have handled that too.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill, I'm curious. So you talked a lot about how you started to build up as a teacher and get better connections with your students. But what was it like dealing with administration back when you started? And how has your relationship with administration been in the 39 years you were teaching?
Well, in the very beginning, I just went to my classroom and I taught, and I tried to be non-controversial. So, I had hardly any connection at all over the first numerous number of years with administration. Faculty meetings, I'd pass them in a hall. I was not doing anything controversial. If any Mealey stories came in, they were good Mealey stories because the parents talked about their kids talking about Mr. Mealey and in a very, very good way. So everything was just hunky-dory, so to speak. Didn't last that way. There were troubles along the line as to a number of things that I really didn't understand about people, I guess. And I guess it was I was already into 21 years, in fact, at Philadelphia High School for Girls, when a political situation arose because we were unionized. And there were some questions about who would run the union in the particular building that we were in, and what their relationship should be with the principal. They shouldn't be buddy-buddy with the principal, blah, blah, blah. And that whole thing went on. And I was on the committee, but not in charge of the committee that the union was in the building. After one election, I got more votes than anybody on the committee, and many, many more votes than the only candidate for the chairmanship got. And she was the only one that was running.
Oh, wow.
That didn't mean anything to me.
So you weren't even running?
No, I didn't run for the chairmanship. No, I was happy being on the committee itself. So I wasn't running for head honcho. No, didn't want the job either, ever. Because you had to be really many times at serious odds with the principal. But this turned out to be not a very good thing for me, because the teacher that was in charge of the union had a working relationship with the principal that neither one of them wanted challenged.
Right.
And it looked as though at some point I was going to interfere with that.
Right.
Gotcha.
That put me in the crosshairs.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a machine that was running really well for both the admin and this teacher. And then, you weren't a young upstart, I guess, at that point, but this...
I had 21 years. I had 21 years at that building.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I'm curious, in my dealings with you, I consider you an anti-establishment person. And part of it comes from a low tolerance for things that don't seem to make sense or that seem unfair or unjust or something like that.
Absolutely, I am. Absolutely, I'm still that way today.
Right,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that was part of your personality from when?
Probably, well, to protect the innocent.
Yes.
I learned very early on, because of my Catholic education and the nuns,
right,
that there were unfair people in this world.
Yeah. So,
and I never wanted to see a fellow classmate of mine abused by the power structure, however the power structure was set up.
So this was a part of your personality, power to the people, and anti. And
I don't really remember. Billy, how long the principal, who is now going to not think too highly of me,
Right.
was even in this building. I mean, she might have been there for 6 years.
Okay.
And I've never had any run-ins with her other than, defending somebody at a meeting as a member of the union committee.
Yeah. So here's just going to be a guess, and I don't know if you can neither confirm nor deny this, is that your fellow colleagues in interactions with you knew something about you that knew you would be willing to defend them. Like somewhere...
Oh, yes. The teachers knew that I was a staunch person that would be in their corner to be looked at.
Right. Okay.
I'd be there for them.
So back to your story then.
Well, it went along for a while, and there was absolutely nothing. It was the same old way. I guess it was like around the first holiday or something. That could have been Columbus Day, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I got this serious report. It's called a 204, and I can't remember what the first one was about.
Mm-hmm.
But literally, when I read it, it was BS.
Right.
If I brought in some of the bigger guns of the union, they would have taken this piece of paper and tore it up and told the principal she was out of her mind.
Right.
But I didn't need that.
Yeah.
I went down and I had a representative, and we got it pushed to the side and held in abeyance, so to speak. So if you didn't do this again, I can't remember what the issue was.
Yeah.
But
So
then
a ticky-tack, like not following the letter of the law type thing, basically, right?
yeah, it was minor BS is what
Right.
it was.
Yeah.
It couldn't. If you put this in front of another principal,
Mm-hmm.
the principal that you put it in front of, other than her,
Right.
would have said, "Oh, Bill, this is an inkling. They're looking for something about you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like you."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found that out as time went on,
Mm-hmm.
because I got more and more of these discipline letters.
Yeah.
So these were like letters of discipline, like you did this wrong and here's documentation of it?
Yeah. Like, for instance, I'll give you one of the instances that was just bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
When you took roll, you had to put a circle down on this official sheet
Mm-hmm.
that they were absent. The first one, or within the first three, I was accused of making the circles too small.
Wow. Good stuff. Yeah, we can't have that.
And you, seriously, you should have read the material that came out as to lack of respect for the rules. I mean, she made it like I was Genghis Khan and just chopped somebody's head off in front of the room.
Wow. Wow.
And that's
And
how
for the record, you did not decapitate anybody in your classroom.
Yes.
not in front of any witnesses, no.
Yes.
Okay.
But your circles were kind of small. Will you admit to the circles being small? I've seen your circles, young man, and your circles are not that big.
Let's just cut to the chase. By January of that year, after 21 years of exemplary, glowing sheets that I had in my hand, the powers that be, I can only think, and it's only my version of it,
Yeah.
conspired against me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the coup d'etat was, one day I'm walking down the hall, and she's walking up the hall, and there's nobody around. She stops, and she said, "Mr. Mealey, your days here are numbered."
Wow.
Is she a Bond villain?
I know. I'm like, let's.
No,
Yes.
Mr. Mealey, I expect you to die.
Yes.
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 She would have been happy to push the button if she could get away with it.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was the saddest day of my life. I told everybody, I said, I have buried two parents, and I was very sad at both of their services. But the day I walked out of girls' high school after 21 years of being loved by the kids,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
she wouldn't even let me finish the year out.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're leaving in January. Goodbye.
Wow.
And what was so sad was the union that represented me. They said, well, you know how this goes, Bill. Some days we win and some days we lose, and it isn't our turn to win. That was the dagger into the heart.
That's when you could see the matrix and go, okay, this union that is supposed to be working for me is actually just part of the system.
Many of them are
as well.
taking care of themselves right now. Well, see, that was 21 years. The union got representation the first year I was teaching, so they were in there for 21 years.
Yeah,
and they did become bedfellows with the administrative people.
Yeah.
But off I went, and I went to Frankfurt for 5 months. I tell you, it was not easy getting up every morning and getting in a car and driving to Frankfurt High School. But there were worse places in Philadelphia, and I used to fall asleep at night saying the rosary because I couldn't keep my mind quiet because of what had happened to me.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff just running through your head, I'm guessing, huh?
Oh, yeah. Could I have said this? Could I have said that? What got me to where I am?
So my dad, hopefully we'll get time to get into some of the extracurricular stuff, but my dad directed the school play, and I don't know what other extracurricular things, but directing the school play was something that brought in what percent of like your annual income was the school play?
It added probably about 10% to my salary.
So about 10%.
What?
So, yeah. So
I did the school plays for free. Oh man, I got
it was
robbed.
It was about 200 hours at $20-some an hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was so that was pretty much taken away from us, and that was pretty much what the reason that you didn't have to work summers, I guess, at that point would be, and I mean, well, 10% of anyone's salary, you can understand how that it gets distributed a lot of ways. That's the difference between, things being comfortable and things being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, I always used to have like about 3 jobs, and 2 of them, other than the teaching, were working for pittances, so to speak.
Yeah, but then because that was going away, the other teachers in the school knew that was not going to be a source of income for you that year.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Well, you're talking about the envelope I received before I walked out.
Yes.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that in a while. Well, unbeknownst to me, one of the faculty members went around to the faculty, and they all knew that I was being treated unfairly, so to speak. We could use other words here,
right,
but I can't. And this lady was I guess probably the last day. She said, "Hey, Bill, when you get a chance, stop down to the phys ed department, my office, and there's something I'd like to give you before you go." And it was like a box of candy or whatever, and it was a card, and I didn't open the card. And she told me, take good care of the card too, Bill. It's important that you see who signed it and blah blah blah. You'll know who your friends are on the faculty. You know who the people who didn't sign it, because I've asked everyone to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, thanks, Jane. I appreciate that. And I think I already know who's on my side and who's not, but this will probably confirm it. And I said, it won't totally confirm it, because I know that when they had to sign their name, the evil one in charge may have found out who signed it and who didn't, and they could be next on the chopping block. So although they really, really liked me and thought I was treated unfairly, they may have decided to protect themselves, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember walking out to the parking lot, and I can remember sitting in my car and crying, and I wasn't coming back to this building ever again, and trying to deal with the feelings I had. And after I stopped my bawling and got control of myself and pulled out of the parking lot and headed home. But when I got home, I opened the card, and there was a heck of a lot of money in the card. I don't remember to this day how much was there, but there was a lot of money in that card.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was all cash. And that was Jane Weizenhofer's to try to tide me over through the end of I guess what year was it? 1988, maybe somewhere around there.
I was at college because I know as after I was at college because I wasn't like I heard about it, but I didn't like experience what you were going through as much because I wasn't like in the house, and so I kind of like
Yeah. Well, I'll just you can ask me some questions. I'll talk about how I got out of Frankfurt High School a little bit later.
Okay. Well, I want to kind of segue into it. So there's, some colleagues, obviously, and like one of the biggest things we talk about on the podcast all the time is, having relationships like outside of the classroom because we really need each other because,
Sure.
having, so someone I know that was probably, I guess you would say your best friend at that point or for a good while. This guy named Art Benjamin. So I just want to kind of talk to you about the importance of having someone at school and who he was to you and how that meant to you and how that shaped you as a teacher.
Well, Arthur and we became best friends.
Mm-hmm.
Mutual respect for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And how we cared about our profession and how we cared about the children.
Mm-hmm.
And how we cared about doing our jobs, how we respected our wives, how we loved our children. All these were common elements.
Mm-hmm. Where did you meet him? Was he at the original high school, or did you meet him at the?
No. He was at girls' high school.
Okay.
And he was a math teacher.
Mm-hmm.
We started eating lunch together one year because we were off at the same lunch, and we just didn't feel like sitting in the faculty room, and we'd go chew the fat with ourselves, or some of the girls would stop by, and we'd sit at a table with the girls down in the lunchroom and endeared ourselves to each other and the girls that we talked to. But the only comparison I have in my mind is a religious thing, laying down your life for your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the year I left girls' high school, and I got a lucky break in which one of my colleagues told me that there was a position opening somewhere at a very, very good school that went from 6th grade to 12th grade. Again, all academic.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how the old boy system works in many districts. I didn't think there was any chance of me getting that because the principal that I was just leaving would call the principal there and tell him what a badass I was and, whatever.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it worked out that I got that job. And the following year, Arthur left a position he held at girls' high school for, I can't remember how many years, and transferred to the school that I had gotten a job in.
Wow.
And it was a new beginning for him too. And he said, Bill, I couldn't walk in that building every day thinking about what they did to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of buddy he was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I lost his friendship because he took an airplane flight with his wife to go visit their daughter in France. And he was on flight 800 that blew up over Long Island.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't want to gloss over that, but let's talk about what were characteristics that he had that you bounced off each other, and how did you shape each other as teachers?
Yeah. And were you guys around the same age, or was he older or younger?
That's a good question. I'd say we were probably right around the same age.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The conversations we had that were important to the two of us, we had at a dartboard and a few beers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pretty crappy at darts. And he was very upset every time I beat him. And being the competitor that I was, I couldn't lay down for him. And I told him that. I said, I'm never going to lay down for you, Arthur. If you beat me, you're going to beat me.
Right.
But he went to England for a year, too. And he came back and he said, oh, boy, he said, I really went over there and I played darts a lot. And, you know how to play English darts? I said, you tell me the rules, I'll adapt to the rules. And the poor man, he couldn't understand why I could still kick his ass at darts. I said, Arthur, this is one of the things I'm better than you at. You're better at relationships with the kids and talking to them more easily than myself. I said, and I'm good at this. I said, so I'd rather have your skill than be able to beat you at guards. But we truly loved each other. We really did.
Yeah.
He was, again, we can go back to religion. He was Jewish, not totally involved in all the rigmarole that religion gets us involved in. But he used to get these things, and he said, Bill, he says, there's Catholic organizations that send me all kinds of things. He said, and we talked about heaven and hell and whether I believed in it and didn't believe in it. But he says, this thing came, and he said, I have cats. I said, yeah, I hate your cats. Because I was allergic to cats. He said, I gave them a glow in the dark rosary to play with.
Oh my goodness.
Do you think this would be really, really bad? I said, Arthur, on a scale of 1 to 100, where you would be damned into hell for doing something or other, that isn't even on the scale. God wouldn't look up from the table he was sitting at to say to you, oh, what an evil man you are, Arthur, for giving the rosary to the cat. He'd probably laugh. God would probably laugh at you, Arthur. So,
and that cat went on to become a Catholic. Okay, thank you.
A Catholic.
Yes,
very good. Ha ha.
Yes. I couldn't let it. I couldn't. It was just there.
Oh my God!
I couldn't ignore it. Sorry. Yes.
That's okay. I mean, I understand having a captive audience and being in the classroom and telling the children they best laugh at the jokes.
Well, I told Tedisco the one the other day. I'll put it on here. I'm stealing this from somebody else, but the other night I dreamt that I wrote the Lord of the Rings, and then I realized I was just Tolkien in my sleep.
Oh God.
Boo.
Oh my God.
Your story earlier reminded me of a really terrible joke too.
Oh, tell a really terrible joke.
How do you know if a Moyle is a good professional?
How?
He doesn't ask for a tip.
Nice.
I thought you were going to say he was on a cutting edge.
There you go. No. But my friend the other day was having trouble paying his water bill, so I sent him a get well soon card.
Boo!
Thank you.
Oh God!
Okay, that's enough.
Oh my.
All right, back to teaching.
These are not funny, Billy.
No.
Well, I'm laughing, so that makes them funny.
Well, I know how to tell those kind of jokes in the front of the room.
Yes.
And then look around at people, and they start laughing because I'm looking at them.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
But as I aged, I would look at them and I'd say, I can tell when your laugh is real and when it's not.
Whoa.
And I'm looking right at you right now, and I know that you're faking it.
No. They're pointing and laughing with me.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Well, I think they're funny, so I don't care. Just kind of like give us some cool stuff. And what were the benefits? Because some people, we probably have listeners who have done extracurricular stuff and been part of clubs or coached or whatever, and other people that haven't. And just kind of talk about what the benefits you got out of doing, other than your millions of dollars apparently from doing the play. I know you coached volleyball. I know you coached the debate team and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, all of that. You get to know the kids in a different light. You really do.
Mm-hmm.
There's conversations that go on. You spend so much time together that you truly got to know people and they got to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have kept up with, and this isn't bragging, maybe it is, with so many of the kids that I have taught.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook it's the gift that keeps giving to you all the time.
Yeah.
A week doesn't go by that some child doesn't send something out to you via Facebook or a messenger or something or other, recanting something that they learned in class, or they remember this, or they remember that, or they remember you fondly, or that you were this instrument for them to go on to bigger and better things. I said, yes, Janine, it's truly wonderful. It is.
Yeah.
And just the other day, something came in, and this girl is going on and gushing about how she learned to think for the first time. She applied this in her life, blah, 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 blah. And she says, by the way, she said, you know how long it's been since you taught me, Mr. Mealey? And I'm still calling you Mr. Mealey? 32 years ago.
There you go.
Wow.
And she said, I'm just getting around to thanking you again now. And, this stuff, seriously, this stuff happens all the time.
Yeah. That's really, really cool.
What I did in the classroom, though, was I related a lot of things from my earlier life with the nuns and things in school to the present day and examples. The children got to know me.
There you go.
Some people remain hidden from them.
Yeah.
They don't want the children to know them at all.
Yep.
But I mean,
they're missing out. Those teachers that are doing that.
Yeah.
Now they knew that I celebrated St. Patrick's Day. They hated me for some of the test questions I gave, especially one test in advanced placement biology, a true and false test, where there were 32 questions, and all of them were true.
Nice. Nice. Oh, the stress.
Some of the kids never forgave me for that.
Yeah, because it's stressful once you get to past like 5 or 6 truths in a row. It's like you're second guessing yourself all day long. Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. And when I was explaining it to them at the end, although they weren't buying the explanation right then because they were still pissed at me,
yeah.
I said, a reason why I did that to you, I said, was to force you to believe in yourselves.
That's cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
You knew the darn question was true, and you started trying to figure it out based upon something that wasn't depending on your own intelligence. Trust yourself. I didn't get too many forgivenesses.
Yeah, I don't know what that'll be for us, Tedisco, because you hit the sweet spot there, Father, because our kids, the students that we have, Facebook is for old people, and they don't get on Facebook.
Yeah.
They're on, TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, I guess, Even Twitter, very few of them, I think, are on. So I don't know how that'll work out, but they'll I guess they'll be able to figure out where we are and contact us once they get.
I know a lot of students who have gone onto Facebook as they've gotten older, though, because I have taught students who have now, graduated from college, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I left teaching in 2004.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been retired for 16 years. My God.
Yeah.
Sure glad I had a pension.
Before was there anything else that you? But you have teachers as an audience now, so this is your opportunity to speak to teachers and give them some pearls of wisdom if you haven't already.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is you're in front of that classroom for, let's say, a 45-minute period, and they, if they have any intellect whatsoever, will be able to figure you out. And you can be as honest as you can be with them, and that will serve you well, I believe, in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I can tell you. And although you will have friendships that carry on forever afterwards, in the very beginning of each year, I sure as hell wasn't their friend.
Yeah.
I was destined to be the man in charge. And they knew it.
Yeah.
We eased up, a little bit later on, and we got more relaxed. But in the end, I was going to teach them how to think critically, read the words that were there, give them examples of that without really telling them, well, this is what I was trying to teach you. This is where your critical thinking. I didn't do all. They knew it. By January, I couldn't wait to get to work every day. Even before that, probably.
Yeah.
Probably by Thanksgiving. There were days where I'm going down the road in the car, I'm whistling a happy tune and saying, oh boy, I can't wait till I get to this part of photosynthesis where I'm running around the room, jumping up on the desk, and I'm going to grab that smallest kid in the room, and that smallest kid's going to be the electron that I'm going to pull off of water and take up, and chlorophyll is going to be this. And I just, I would just say, oh man, they're going to love this lesson. And I didn't really know whether they'd love it or not, but I was going to love it.
There you go. There you go.
You best learn to be a listener.
Yeah.
Because I picked up so many things where I would say to the kid, Mary, how about bringing two of your really closest friends back this afternoon? We're going to have a discussion about something or other, and I just want your closest friends to be with you. And the kid would come in and I'd say, look, this could be a privacy issue, but would you be embarrassed by anything that would be said about you or your family before these two kids? No, Mr. Mealey, they know everything. And then I would talk about what I sensed was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And how could they help, and how could I help the situation?
Yeah.
Do you need some place to come and cry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will leave my prep room door open for you while I'm in the front of the classroom. When class is over, you just have to be out of there. You walk into that prep room, cry your eyes out, whatever, be by yourself. You'll hear the bell ring, and then leave.
Yeah.
But that will always be there. If we're having a meeting face one-on-one, it's very difficult for me to do that. So just bring your closest friend then, and we can talk about anything you want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a number of those conversations over the years. And how did you know, Mr. Mealey? I said, you get to know me, I get to know you. And over the past 3 or 4 days, you weren't the you that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I have enough confidence that we have achieved some kind of back and forth between the two of us that we can talk about anything.
Yeah.
And all you have to tell me is you're not comfortable with it. And that is it. And I'll try to send you down to the counselor, and she'll find somebody who can help you much more than I can with my training.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times that happened. Really.
Yeah.
And those are the things that came in, that come in on Facebook.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mr. Mealey, you remember me talking to you about my dad dying and it being alcohol related? Yes. Remember me crying in your prep room? Yes, I do. I'm just thanking you again, Mr. Mealey. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because at that point, who cares about algebra?
Right.
Exactly. Oh God, yeah.
Right.
Half the lessons were life lessons I taught.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's not true. Maybe 10% were life lessons.
Yeah.
But they were there.
Right. And that's the thing as well. Like, and there are kids who are going to remember, the photosynthesis electron thing or a Punnett square or whatever it is that you do. But 90% of them remember almost nothing content-wise that you taught other than how they felt when they were in your class. That's what they remember.
That is so true. It is so very true.
Yeah.
And someone will write back to me and they'll say, Mr. Mealey, no one ever stopped me down at Second and Shunk, put a pistol to my head, and asked me for the reactants for respiration.
Right.
I said, well, I lied to you. You know that, don't you?
There you go.
No, they asked them about the day that Emily Dickinson died. That's
well,
important.
Yeah.
All right. So to finish all of this up, in all of your years of teaching, do you have? I'm sure you have some funny stories from the classroom, because ridiculous things happen all the time. So when people ask you about being a teacher and how crazy was it, do you have a story, like a go-to story or two that you're like, oh man, you guys have to hear this? That's just the funniest or most ridiculous thing that happened?
Well, okay. This is, again, life lessons, not necessarily ridiculous.
Okay.
But I'm in an AP class, and we're arguing about a test question, and a choice between an A and a B being the right answer. Mm-hmm. The C and D they know are definitely wrong. But this person is discussing why he chose whatever he chose.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I'm sorry. You're flat out wrong. And I could get around to explain it to you a little better if we had time. He said, Mr. Mealey, you do know that this is AP biology and that I am smarter than you are.
Nice.
Oh,
I said, I do know it's AP biology. I said, but by your very own language, you have just proved the opposite of what you tried to prove. I said, how many people believe in here that right now he is smarter than I am? No one raised their hand.
oh,
I said, that's right. I said, I'll pick his name. I'll make up a name. Stephen, I understand that you are more intelligent than I am. You have a higher IQ than I do. You are so much smarter than me. And you're going to find college a whole lot easier if you first remember not to open your mouth and say things such as you just said when the person that you're saying them to is in any way in charge of you. Like, Stephen, your grade.
Nice.
You understand, Stephen? Your grade. I, Mr. Mealey, am in charge of your grade. And do you know if I gave you a grade, how hard it would be for you to convince anybody, knowing my reputation, that my grade was not fairly arrived at for what I put down for you? I said, how would you like in your next report card a D? And the D was going AP biology, and someone would look down at that and they'd say, oh, well, we can't put him in the honors program now. Look, the dumb bunny got a D. I said, so Stephen, smarter than me, you are not. More intelligent than I am, I accede to that. And I'm happy to acknowledge that. Are we good now, Stephen? He said, do I have to come and talk about this D?
Ah!
I said, Stephen, okay, here's the next question to the class. How many people in this class think that I would be so unfair to Stephen that I would give him a D? Raise your hands. I said, Stephen, the same number of people raised their hands that you were smarter than me. Nobody raised their hand, so you're not getting a D, Stephen. I said, I hope you learned a lesson today. That's all.
There you go.
So I leave it with that.
love that.
That's good
I say it
stuff.
all the time, but I always tell my students, nobody cares how smart you are if you're not willing to do the work.
There you go.
I loved most of the days I taught. I still love reminiscing about it. And I wouldn't choose another profession if somebody held a gun to my head.
There we go. Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome. Okay. Well, guys, thank you again for tuning in. You got to hear my dad and, you know, what teaching was like back in the old days. And but anyway, thank you so much and stay unprofessional.